Om Sai Ram, everyone. I hope you all are eagerly waiting for this week's episode as much as I am, because this week we are going to discuss on how Shree Swami Maharaj fulfilled the earnest desire of his bhaktas, of his devotees, for offsprings. So it is a fundamental right and an earnest desire for any householder, any man, to bring up a child. Because of offsprings, there is a perpetuation of family tree, and parents get exceptional pleasure as they bring up their children. And hence, a man gets an earnest desire to bring forth his offsprings. And without children, a man feels a great drawback in his life, becomes unhappy, and hence a person born as an incarnation, like Shree Swami Maharaj, blesses the devotees with offsprings. He was very compassionate, Shree Swami Maharaj, and during his incarnation, he had blessed numerous devotees with children by his miraculous works. So the first story of this series of desire for offsprings fulfilled is about Bhau Sahib Jagirdar. Sri Swamiji had once been to Naladurg village in Osmanabad district of Maharashtra. There, he got a prayer of invitation from the Jagirdar of Nilgaon village, Shriman Bhau Sahib Jagirdar, to pay a visit to Nilgaon. Sri Swamiji accepted this invitation and went to Nilgaon along with his attendants and devotees. When the Jagirdar applied akshat on Sri Swamiji's forehead, out of that, 3 grains of rice fell down. Sri Swamiji picked up those 3 grains and gave them to Jagirdar as prasad. Then out of these 3 grains of rice, Jagirdar ate 1 grain and gave 2 grains to his wife. Jagirdar had no offsprings. Sri Swamiji's blessing gave him the pleasure of offsprings. He said, "A good son will be born to you." Bhau Sahib Jagirdar, in the great honor of Sri Swamiji, arranged a Mahapuja, Bhajan, Kirtan, and Brahman Bhojan. Sri Swamiji accepted the hospitality and extended his favor by Jagirdar and then returned. In due time, the wife of Jagirdar gave birth to a son and then 2 daughters. Jagirdar remembered this kind favor that Sri Swamiji had given, and he started visiting Akkalkot frequently and rendering devotional service to Sri Swami Maharaj. Harivansh Puran, this is another devotee. Bhau Sahib of Baroda was a wealthy landlord. He had a daughter but no son. In those days, it was like people used to crave for a son who would carry their family tree ahead. So he prostrated at the lotus feet of Sri Swamiji and offered his prayers unto him for a son. Sri Swamiji blessed him that listen to Harivansh Puran, then you will get a son. So this is the remedy that Sri Swamiji prescribed, that read the Harivansh Puran. So Bhau Sahib listened to the Harivansh Puran according to the rites, and then he was blessed with a son by the kind grace of Sri Swamiji. Then the next story is about milk from tree. This is an interesting incident. Let's look what happened. This incident took place when Sri Swamiji was in the village Mangalveda in Solapur district. In this village, a 60-year-old man with his wife, who was 52 years old, both of them lived. Being childless, they were very unhappy. Basappa Teli, a great devotee, advised them that you render devotional service to Sri Swamiji. Worship him. Without darshan of Sri Swamiji, never accept any food. Then your wish will be fulfilled. The woman started to take Sri Swamiji's darshan regularly with great devotion. Sri Swamiji was pleased seeing her devotion. He told her, "There is a tree on the other side. Take the milk of that tree mixed with sugar, and then your wish will be fulfilled." The woman went near the tree which was giving milk sap, collected that, added sugar to it, and accepted the same as prasad. By the kind grace of Sri Swamiji, she was blessed with a son. Then the next question, then the next chapter is about a European gentleman who served in the railway department at Solapur, again in the same district of Maharashtra, and he did not have any children. Hearing about Sri Swamiji, he came to Akkalkot. He stood before Sri Swamiji with a feeling full of devotion. Sri Swamiji looked at him and said, "Do you wish to have a son? Certainly, your wish will be fulfilled, and you will get a son within a year." And recognizing his strong mental wish, Sri Swamiji blessed him, and the European gentleman was highly astonished with this kind of direct blessing coming from Sri Swamiji, as he had not even uttered his prayers. He was antaryami, so he immediately gave this blessing. And then the next year he came again along with his wife and child to Akkalkot for Sri Swamiji's darshan. After this miraculous incident, a number of Europeans also started visiting Akkalkot. Then there was this story of how another devotee was blessed with a son. An old man named Mate, belonging to the Maratha community, he came to Akkalkot with his wife to take Sri Swamiji's darshan. His wife was 60 years old. They did not have any children, so both were very unhappy. Like in the current medical opinion, it's impossible. It's near to impossible to conceive in the age of 60. But look at Sri Swamiji's blessings. Seeing their unhappiness, Sri Swamiji blessed the old woman, placing a coconut in the lap of her sari and said, "Take this son." And by the kind grace of Sri Swamiji, she did have putra prapti. She gave birth to a son within a year. Another Brahmin story is here. A Brahmin along with his wife rendered devotional service to Sri Swamiji. They didn't have any children. They earnestly yearned to have children. With this intention, they offered daily prayers to Sri Swamiji for his blessings and kind favor. Sri Swamiji told the lady, "Your destiny does not allow you to rear a child." The lady replied, "If it is not in my destiny, then why should I go in search of God?" With great stubbornness, she continued her devotional service towards Sri Swamiji. One day, Sri Swamiji gave her 2 dried date fruits and said, "These are your sons. Take them." And the lady was very aware and sensitive about untouchability. She thought that people of different castes visit Sri Swamiji for his darshan. And as such, there is a possibility of a lower caste devotee polluting this date with their touch. She decided to take the prasad given by Sri Swamiji only after taking bath. Hence, she went to the lake to purify herself for bath. To avoid this contaminated prasad getting lost in the water just by chance, she buried the 2 dried date fruits in the sand. After taking bath, she came home, but she forgot to bring the prasad along with her. At night, she remembered about the prasad. However, she could not go to the lake since it was dark. Therefore, she went in the morning to the lake. She dug up the place where she had buried the prasad, but instead she found 2 eggs placed in the exact location where she had buried the date fruits. So she picked up those 2 eggs. By that time, both the eggs had cracked. 2 birds came out of them and they flew away. When the people came to know of this, they criticized her for her foolishness in neglecting the prasad given by Sri Swamiji. Then she went crying to Sri Swamiji and narrated the incident. Sri Swamiji became very angry and said, "You foolish lady, what do you expect from me? Get lost from here." And nevertheless, despite the anger of Sri Swamiji and the relentless abuses that Sri Swamiji gave, she continued her devotional service And with great determination, she did that. And then afterwards, Sri Swamiji was pleased by her, and she was blessed with motherhood. Then there is a story of the Jujuba tree. Ramakrishna Rao Sardesai from Mumbai served in the Department of Railways. He had no children. So he came to Akkalkot along with his wife Annapurna Bai. Sri Swamiji said, render your service to the Jojuba tree which is there, and then you will get a son in the radiance of fire. Your son will be as radiant as fire. So, however, Ramakrishna Rao came to know that nobody goes around a Jojoba tree. So, therefore, he and his wife Annapurna Bai both started going around the peepal tree instead, because peepal tree is considered sacred. So, they started doing pradakshina of the peepal tree. This did not serve any purpose. They asked saints and ascetics about this Jojoba tree, and ascetic named Brahmanand told him that you have not understood fully the meaning of Sri Swamiji's words. Sri Swamiji calls Saint Sri Swami Sooth as Jujuba tree. Ramakrishna Rao along with his wife went to Sri Swami Sooth's mutt and started rendering devotional service. In due course, Annapurna Bai gave birth to a son by the kind grace of Sri Swamiji. Prasad of bones. Earlier we had heard stories where we had seen Swamiji had made bones into gold bars. But this one is a different kind of a story. A lady of Lingayat merchant community was childless. She came to Akkalkot to offer her prayers to Sri Swamiji. At that time, Sri Swamiji was sitting in the locality of the Mahar community. A large bone piece lay nearby Sri Swamiji. Sri Swamiji picked up this bone and gave it to the lady with blessings and said, "Take this boy." However, the lady thought that touching the piece of bone which had contact with untouchables would pollute her. She did not go forward to accept the bone piece offered by Sri Swamiji. At the time, a lady belonging to the Mahar community was sitting nearby and she had no children as well. She prayed to Sri Swamiji, "Maharaj, kindly bless me with a son." She extended her achal with an earnest prayer. Then Sri Swamiji was pleased with her and put the bone piece in her achal instead. By the kind grace of Sri Swamiji, good fortune dawned on the lady from the Mahar community and she gave birth to a son. So this is the way Gurus test our patience. They test our devotion towards them. Their ways are indescribable. We cannot describe in words the way they perform miracles. They are none but God Himself. But then people still become skeptical, they misunderstand, they fall under the clutches of these misconceptions such as untouchability and things like that. And then they fail to understand the leela of God. And they lose this beautiful opportunity that was given as a blessing. Then we come to the story of Jagirdar of Abdulpur. In Abdulpur, Hyderabad state, under the then government of the Nizams, there was a Jagirdar by name Deshpande, who had 2 wives but no children. Deshpande was 60 years old. To earn God's favor, he went to the holy place of Gangapur in Karnataka state. There he got a vision in his dream directing him to go to Akkalkot. So he went to Akkalkot with his wives. After taking the darshan of Sri Swamiji, they stood in front of him. Sri Swamiji said, "If 100 gold coins donated, you will get a brinjal, which is a daughter. And if 1,000 gold coins are donated, you will get an elephant, which is a son." And Sri Swamiji put a coconut in the achal of the first wife and then asked them to put the same coconut on the achal of the second wife. Jagirdar Deshpande worshipped Sri Swamiji in Shodopchar way and arranged sumptuous meals to 1,000 Brahmins. Then Deshpande returned home by mentally offering continuous prayers to Sri Swamiji. Then in time, the Deshpande couple got 1 son and 1 daughter by the kind grace of Sri Swamiji. There was another Brahmin, Moreshwar Hari, was a Nagar Brahmin. He stayed at Burhanpur. He had no children either. So he came to Sri Swamiji and he prayed Maharaj that Maharaj, without a son, life becomes a total failure. Hence, kindly shower your grace and bless me with a son. Sri Swamiji became compassionate towards him and gave him a coconut as a blessing, and Moreshwar got a son, whose name was Datta. Moreshwar carried out the first hair-cutting ceremony of his son at Akkalkot itself. Then he arranged for sumptuous meals to the Brahmins and returned home by singing merits in the praise of Sri Swamiji. Then we come to the story of Panduranga Jadhav. In Pune, there was a gentleman named Panduranga Bapuji Jadhav. He had 4 sons, but unfortunately all 4 sons died within a period of 2 months. Jadhav couple became very unhappy. Jadhav's wife, Bhagubai, was very pious. One day, she listened to the biography of Shree Swamiji and she became his devotee. She started mentally repeating the name of Shree Swami Samarth regularly. One day, she got a vision in her dream and Shree Swamiji spoke, "If I give you a son, what would you give me in return?" Bhagubai said, "I shall offer my son at your lotus feet and make him a brahmachari." After a few days, she became pregnant. And then she gave birth to a son. Then, as per her promise, she offered her son at the lotus feet of Sri Swamiji. Next story is of the king of the then Akkalkot state. Shriman Maloji Raje was a great and loyal devotee of Shree Swami Samarth. And he desired for a son. By the kind grace of Sri Swamiji, Queen Rani Sahiba became pregnant. People asked Sri Swamiji, "Maharaj, your Raja Sahib will get a son or a daughter?" Sri Swamiji did not reply straight away, but said, "Bring a bangle." So, as per Sri Swamiji's hint, Raja Sahib got a daughter. The second time too, Raja Sahib got a daughter. Now for the third time, Rani Sahiba became pregnant. When people asked Sri Swamiji, he made a dramatic gesture of handling a military handgun and said, "Start simultaneous discharges of many firearms." That is, he meant start celebrating. And then Raja Sahib got a son. And he got his heir to the then state of Akkalkot. Because he had a kingdom to run, he was desperately in need of a son. So, there is another story where Naivedya was accepted from a Brahmin lady. A poor Brahmin lady had brought Naivedya for Sri Swamiji with great devotion, but the attendants were not paying any attention to her. She mentally started praying unto Sri Swamiji and took a seat away from the prime area. In the meantime, Sri Swamiji spoke, "Who has stopped Naivedya of that Brahmin lady? Bring your Naivedya here." The Brahmin lady came forward and placed the Naivedya in front of Sri Swamiji. He accepted the food with great love. He was pleased and he blessed her. "You will give birth to a mischievous boy." Hearing this, the Brahmin lady became ecstatic. In fact, she had no offspring till the age of 45. By the kind grace of Sri Swamiji, she became a mother of a son. Lord Hanuman in Darkness is the title of the next story. It's a very short leela again. A lawyer from Mumbai, his name was Dwarka Das. He came to Akkalkot for the darshan of Sri Swamiji. It was 7 p.m. and Sri Swamiji was taking a nap on a cot. The lawyer burnt camphor in front of Sri Swamiji. Sri Swamiji got up and he spoke angrily. "You have come to pray for a son, and our Hanuman is sitting in darkness. If you observe, Swami Sut Maharaj is sitting in darkness in the temple of Lord Krishna." Dwarkadas went to the temple of Lord Krishna and lighted all the lamps. Then Sri Swamiji asked the lawyer to bring grams. Sri Swamiji took the grams in his hand and started playing for nearly an hour. Later, he gave those grams to the lawyer as prasad. After a few days, the lawyer became the father of a son. In this world, a household person becomes very happy by begetting a son. This doesn't mean that without a son, parents will not get liberation from the bondages of this world. Sri Swamiji did not agree with the understanding that parents having no male offspring will not get liberation from the bondages of this world. Here is an instance of such an experience. Once a Puranik from South India had come to Akkalkot. He started displaying his knowledge in the presence of Sri Swamiji. So Puranik is generally a person who is well versed in the knowledge of Puranas. He started saying, person without a son will not get liberation from worldly bondage. Listening to these words uttered by the Puranik, Sri Swamiji said, why do you cross the decorum of good manners and mode of Puranas and exhibit your meaningless learning here? How do you make a definite conclusion that without a son, one will not get liberation from this worldly bondage? Did the parrot, here by parrot, Sri Swamiji meant Sukhmani, the son of Vyas. Okay, so Sri Swamiji is asking, did the parrot have a son? Did the lutenist, which is Narad Muni, have a son? Did Vamdev have a son? You are also without a son. Would you go to hell? Instead of singing the merits in the praise of God, what type of useless talk have you started? Why do you state your definite conclusions that a person without a son will not reach heaven? The deliverance from the bondages of the life and death does not depend upon a son. If it did depend upon a son, then dogs and pigs certainly would have attained this deliverance. Hence, it is a fact that the deliverance and death or the attainment of heaven never depends upon the son. On the contrary, whatever sins a father commits for bringing up a son takes him to hell. Sri Swamiji never agreed with the established truths. He always blessed a childless person with a child, irrespective of son or daughter. Although we have come across a few instances where devotees who aspired for a son, a male child, got it. It is because of their destiny, it is because of their prarabdha. It was destined for them to beget a son. And Sri Swamiji, being Almighty Himself, ensured that they meet their fate. But it was never, Sri Swamiji never supported or advocated the preference for a male child. So he always blessed a childless person with a child with the sole purpose that a household person should experience the happiness of bearing a child, which would eventually invoke sincere love towards God, because then the couple would ultimately become grateful to Lord and then start singing the praises of Lord. It's ultimately the Lord's name, the devotional service that we render unto the Lord's feet that brings salvation, and not being a parent of a son. So this is the ultimate truth that we come to know from this Granth, the biography of Shree Swami Samarth. So with this, today I conclude the entire list of stories where we had learned about how Shree Swami Samarth gave the desiring devotees the pleasure of bearing and nurturing children. So with that, I end today's episode. I wish you all a very nice week ahead, blessed week ahead. Om Sai Ram, Akkalkot Nivasi, Shree Swami Samarth Maharaj ki Jai. And see you all next week in yet another fresh episode of Shree Swami Samarth's biography. Till then, Om Sai Ram.